Good evening, everybody. I want you to pause for a moment and think about the last time you felt that unmistakable surge of certainty, that calm assurance that your life was heading towards something meaningful. Maybe it was after you accomplished a personal milestone, or perhaps during a quiet moment when you sensed a divine whisper telling you that you are indeed on the right path. Yet for many of us, that feeling doesn't always last. We face doubts, uncertainties, and heartbreaks that shake our faith in God's plan. We question why certain doors remain sealed shut, while others are flung open in front of people we hardly know. We worry that maybe, just maybe, we got it all wrong. If you've ever felt that creeping sense of doubt, this moment is for you. Tonight, I want to speak to your heart, to the part of you that yearns for purpose. I'm here to share what I've come to call the 6 essential reminders to keep believing in God's purpose. Because in a world that moves at breakneck speed, we often forget to slow down and remember the simple truths that anchor us to our faith. We lose sight of the fact that God's plan isn't always about immediate comfort or quick success. It's about molding our character, refining our spirit, and placing us exactly where we need to be, not necessarily where we want to be, but where we can serve best. Some people wake up every morning with a heavy ache in their chest, unsure if they can keep going. Others bury themselves in work, in social media, in endless distractions, trying to drown out that gnawing question, am I living the life I was meant to live? And I know how lonely that question can feel. Believe me, I've walked through valleys of doubt. I've stood on the edge, wondering if I had what it took, if my life truly had a purpose bigger than my own ambitions. But through it all, I've learned that faith, real faith, is forged in the fires of uncertainty. It's when life doesn't make sense that we discover the depth and resilience of our trust in God. So, if you are here wondering whether God truly has a plan for you, or if maybe you were just forgotten in the grand scheme, I'm asking you to lean in, because these 6 reminders are not just fancy words. They are lived experiences, drawn from trials and triumphs. They are the stepping stones that can carry you over those raging rivers of doubt. And each reminder is a testament that no matter how lost you may feel, you are not alone. Each one is proof that your life is unfolding according to a divine design that is far bigger and more beautiful than you can imagine. And as we embark on this journey, I want you to envision the countless people around the globe wrestling with the same uncertainties. They too long for direction, for clarity, for a moment of undeniable confirmation that they matter. We are all connected by this universal search for meaning. We strive to know that what we do and who we become reflects a higher calling. In sharing these reminders, I hope to rekindle that confidence within you. Because when you remember who holds your future, you'll find the courage to step out in faith, embrace every unexpected twist, and discover that in God's purpose, there's no such thing as a wasted moment. Now, let's walk this path together. Let's hold on to hope and dare to believe that God's purpose is still alive and well in our lives. Let's ignite that spark of faith and fan it into a blaze that cannot be extinguished by fear, failure, or frustration. You ready? Let's begin. First, remember that hardships do not mean you are off track. Sometimes the greatest confirmation of God's purpose comes wrapped in trials. Think about a young graduate facing rejection after rejection when applying for jobs, wondering if anyone sees her potential. In that space of frustration, resilience is born. If she gives in to defeat, she may never discover the role she was destined for. But if she stands firm, trusting that every closed door shapes her perspective, she'll find that God's plan was never derailed. only redirected. In that challenge, perseverance becomes a testimony that fuels unshakable faith. Second, recognize that timing is everything. God's plan often operates on a different clock. Consider a family longing to own a home. Every attempt to secure a mortgage falls through, leaving them discouraged. Yet when they pause and trust divine timing, an unexpected opportunity arises. Better location, better terms, and a peace they never anticipated. If they had forced their will too soon, they might have settled for less than God's best. Sometimes the hardest thing is to wait. But in that waiting, you learn to rely on grace that transcends human deadlines, revealing how perfect God's schedule truly is. Third, community is vital. No one fulfills God's purpose alone. In a thriving company, each employee has a role: sales, marketing, operations. If any department is isolated, the whole organization suffers. The same goes for your spiritual journey. Without supportive friends, mentors, or fellow believers, discouragement can take over. But when you surround yourself with a community that lifts you, prays for you, and holds you accountable, you discover a collective strength that amplifies individual faith. If you isolate yourself, you risk losing sight of the bigger picture. With the right people, you stand taller and shine brighter. Fourth, failure is not final. In God's hands, it's simply a stepping stone. Picture an entrepreneur who launches a business and watches it crumble within a year. He might feel ashamed or embarrassed. Yet if he sees failure as a lesson rather than a verdict, he unlocks wisdom. He learns adaptability, humility, and persistence. If he allows discouragement to consume him, he'll never see how God can refine his talents through defeat. Embracing failure doesn't mean aiming for it. It means welcoming the growth it triggers. Where the world sees dead ends, God sees fresh starts. Fifth, gratitude unlocks greater understanding. When we focus only on what's missing, we become blind to what God has already provided. A busy mother might feel overwhelmed by daily chores, longing for more time or resources. She forgets how her family is a source of deep love. Neglecting gratitude breeds resentment and doubt. But by pausing to thank God for little victories, a child's smile, a meal shared, she sees her blessings more clearly. This shift in perspective lightens the load and renews hope. Gratitude transforms the mundane into miracles, reminding us that God's favor is hidden in the everyday. Finally, serving others reignites faith. When you make your life about something bigger than yourself, you align with God's heart. Think of volunteers in a local shelter who extend kindness to strangers. In lifting others, they find renewed purpose in their own lives. If they only focused on personal gain, they'd never see the profound impact of compassionate service. But by choosing to serve, they become vessels of God's love. Through acts of generosity, we grasp that God's plan isn't merely for our comfort, it's for our contribution. In giving ourselves away, we discover the richest sense of purpose. Now let's gather all these truths and hold them close to our hearts. We spoke about embracing hardships as confirmation rather than condemnation. We talked about trusting God's timing, about seeking the community that empowers our journey, and about recognizing that failure is never the final word. We reminded ourselves that gratitude unlocks a deeper vision, and that by serving others, we rediscover the heart of God's purpose. Think of these 6 reminders as guardrails on a winding road. Sometimes the path is smooth. Other times it's steep and shadowed. But each reminder helps keep you from veering into the ditches of doubt, despair, or self-reliance. This journey we're on isn't meant to be perfect or painless. It's meant to be purposeful. It's meant to shape us into the kind of people who walk boldly in faith, even when we can't see the next step. It's meant to refine us into reflections of God's love, not for our own glory, but so that we can be a blessing to others. And there is a reason why you're here, listening right now. There is a reason your heart is beating. The purpose God has for you is not just for your benefit, it's for the people you're meant to influence, to encourage, to serve along the way. So how do we move forward? First, we take inventory of our current mindset. Ask yourself, have I been misinterpreting obstacles as evidence of God's absence? Have I been complaining about delays instead of trusting in perfect timing? Have I been going it alone when I should be reaching out to a community of believers, friends, family, or mentors? And what about failure? Have I been letting it define me? Have I been focusing too much on what I lack, neglecting the endless things I have to be grateful for? Finally, have I been so inwardly focused that I've forgotten the call to serve? I challenge you right now to take one tangible step in each of these areas. If you're wrestling with a hardship, share it with someone you trust. Pray specifically for wisdom to see God's hand in your circumstance. If you're battling impatience with God's timing, practice the discipline of waiting without resentment. Maybe that means slowing down, turning off the constant noise, and asking God to reveal the lesson in the pause. If you've been isolated, send a message or make a phone call today. Reconnect with that friend or mentor who speaks life into your doubts. Or if you haven't found such a person yet, step out in faith. Visit a local church, join a small group, or engage with an online community of believers. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but community is worth the risk. For those haunted by failure, dare to see it as a chapter in your story, not the final sentence. Evaluate what went wrong, but also discern what went right. There is always a takeaway, a piece of wisdom God wants you to carry forward. If gratitude has been lacking in your life, start a gratitude journal. Every day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It can be as small as waking up to see the sunrise, or as big as receiving unexpected help at just the right moment. Watch how this simple practice reorients your perspective. In service, well, let's be honest, sometimes life can feel too busy to give anything more, but the truth is you can't afford not to. Service breathes life into our faith. Look for a need around you and fill it, whether it's helping a neighbor, volunteering at a food bank, or donating to a cause that resonates with your heart, and do it with genuine love. Each act of service is a seed planted in hope, a living reminder that God's purpose reaches beyond our personal desires. When you serve, you testify that there is a kingdom bigger than your ambitions and a love grander than your fears. As you take these steps, you'll find your faith growing stronger. You'll start noticing divine fingerprints in places you never looked before. The conversation with a stranger that spoke directly to your need. The sudden rush of inspiration to solve a problem at work. The timely encouragement from a friend. These are not coincidences. They are glimpses into God's ongoing involvement in your life. They are reminders that you are cherished, guided, and propelled toward a destiny you cannot fully comprehend yet. So, let faith rise within you. Let it replace the negativity in your mind with the promise that God is bigger than your struggles, mightier than your fears, and more faithful than you can imagine. Let it shift your perspective from I can't to He can. Let it transform your excuses into opportunities and your insecurities into proclamations of trust. The road ahead might be uncertain, but remember that every story of greatness has its chapters of adversity. Every hero of faith, from the biblical times until now, has navigated seasons where God's presence seemed elusive, yet they pressed on, believing that what was invisible was no less real. I want to leave you with a final image. Picture yourself standing on the edge of a vast ocean at dawn. The horizon is tinted with the first rays of sunlight, hinting at a bright new day. The water before you represents the unknown future, expansive and sometimes intimidating. But you also sense the calm hush of morning, a gentle voice whispering, I am with you. That voice is God's assurance. It doesn't promise a storm-free life, but it promises his guiding hand through every way. And in that promise, you find the courage to step forward, no matter how deep the waters might seem. Yes, you might get splashed. Yes, you might stumble at times, but you won't be alone. You won't be abandoned. Each time you recall these 6 reminders, you'll stand a little taller, breathe a little deeper, and trust a little more. You'll remember that hardships can refine, that timing can surprise, that community can uplift, that failure can teach, that gratitude can illuminate, and that service can unite you with God's very heartbeat. This is how you keep believing in God's purpose, by living these truths day by day, moment by moment. Now is the time to commit. Now is the time to silence the voices of doubt and fear and to let faith speak louder. Walk out of here determined to see your life through the lens of these reminders. Stand firm in your faith, knowing that God's plan for you is not a casual, half-formed idea. It's a masterpiece, meticulously detailed, with every gift, every shortfall, and every twist in your story. All of it is woven together to showcase his love and power in ways you never thought possible. So go forth, not timidly, but boldly. Believe in your worth. Believe in your calling. Believe that even when the path ahead is not clear, the one who leads you is. And in that belief, find joy, find hope, find purpose. Because when you do, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the world around you. Every step of faith sends ripples that touch families, communities, workplaces, and beyond. That's the power of divine purpose. It never ends with you. It sparks transformation wherever it goes. And that, my friends, is worth every tear, every trial, and every triumph along the way. Thank you, and may God bless you in every step you take.